Yeah, I'm just checking out your your channel, Darth Loquitur.
Greetings and hello there, everybody. It's me, your Star Wars dad, NOOCH Too Good, here with your pal, the Gerbil, and our special guest today, Darth Loquitur. Say hello, Darth Loquitur.
Greetings.
How's everybody doing today? Gerbil, how are you feeling? I know you've been sick, and I saw you come out with a video for the first time in like a week and a half the other day, so you doing all right?
Oh, man. No, more like 3 weeks, actually. It was December 28th, and I think was the last time I published until yesterday. And yeah, I'm still a bit congested, but yeah, around like January 5th or 6th, pretty much the day after our last video, I just got laid down by a really bad infection. And I'm back at work and doing okay. I mean, I'm vertical and conscious and alive, so I can't complain. But it was rough. It was really rough. So yeah, I couldn't speak. I was trying to hold class for a while at work, and I would be, 3 words into a sentence, and then I would just squeal like an actual gerbil, and my whole class would, erupt and giggle with laughter. You just got to roll with it. But eventually, I was like, no, I'm taking some time off.
I'm picturing you squealing right now. Yeah. I'm not sure that's where I wanted to be this morning, but I'm here, so...
Gerbil the squealer.
Hey, Darth Loquitur, it's been a minute since we were talking about this before we got started. So you started a new account, and I thought I'd let you talk about that for a minute or two and just kind of tell us what the details are and what's going on with it.
So, things change in the game, and with the light speed bundles coming out and all that stuff, there's enough that's different that I thought, partway through last year, my accounts, I was running an alt account and my Loquitur account, and they started to become the same, because whatever's best in the game is what I was working on both accounts. So it kind of started to duplicate, and so I said, okay, what should I do with my second account? And I thought, well, I'll just start a brand new free-to-play 1 to 85 account, re-experience all this stuff, see if there's a better team for Galactic Wars than Phoenix, and just kind of go through and see what that experience is like. And I gotta tell you guys, it's horrible. It is absolutely horrible. So at any time during your 1 to 85 journey, if they introduce a lightspeed bundle that has ships,
yes,
everybody buys the lightspeed bundle, and you're immediately pushed out of the top 100 of ships. So the whole time that you're leveling up, you can't get any fleet currency. The game doesn't give you anything good. So if you're truly free to play, it is a miserable experience. I played free to play on my local account 1 to 85, took me 95 days. And on this account, it took 131 days. So like another month and a half to get to level 85. Because I had so few crystals each day for refreshes. I wasn't getting mods, I wasn't getting, a lot of farming done, because there's no resources. So I think one of the most valuable takeaways from starting that new account and playing through it is, man, if you join this game in 2024, you almost can't play without the Lightspeed bundle. You pretty much got to click that button, get the Lightspeed bundle, or the Hyperdrive bundle, get to 85. And then if they come out with one of these $10 Lightspeed bundles, that's your route into the game. So it's a catch-up mechanic. These Lightspeed bundles are catch-up mechanic, but the way that it works inside the game, for a new player, it's not a catch-up mechanic. It's kind of a you must spend this money mechanic if you want to keep up. Yeah. So it's a blend of a good thing and kind of a negative. And I would say if you were a new player and you came to the game and you didn't understand all this stuff, Lightspeed bundles would ruin your experience.
I am in the middle of the same experience. I'm doing my free-to-play Java rush right now, and I was going through, and I wasn't crushing Fleet Arena, I'm free-to-play, but I was finishing top 50, and you gotta be top 50 to get 50 crystals a day. And literally, what was it, October 9th or whatever, that the Lightspeed bundles came out, and literally that day, all I saw were Relic 5 Houndstooth, Relic 5 Ray's Falcon, Relic 5 Carthanasi, and I have not touched the top 50 since Lightspeed bundle, and you're exactly right, which is why I really I put a video out earlier this year. I said they've got to accelerate ship farming. They've got to give the free to play player or really light spender, because even if you say, okay, I could break down and spend $10 every 3 months or whatever. We don't know the cadence is yet, but you may be spending that on not a ship bundle. You might spend that on the Kylo bundle. You still won't catch up in fleet arenas. So I just think now is the time to accelerate the fleet drops to give people a chance to, because there are difference makers out there. Like Vulture Droid is a ship that you put there with the Geos, can really make a tremendous, that can actually kill a Houndstooth with the Geos in tow if you can get there. But yeah, you need to be able to farm it much faster than you can right now.
Well, what's the value in the 1 to 85 experience? There was a moment where playing 1 to 85 was how you learned the game. You got familiar with your teams. The things came online slowly. But just take raid loot, for instance. If you start the game and you spend your first 2 months and you can't get into a good guild because, well, you're level 60, right? And there's not a whole lot of decent guilds that are like, oh, a level 60 player, come join us, right? So maybe it takes a little bit of time for you to get into a decent guild and start getting raid loot. Well, in the past, at least you had the pit raid and stuff like that was good. And now, if you can't get into a guild that's good enough to be doing the current raid, you're just kind of stuck. And if you do get into a guild, then you're not making a very good contribution on your own. So what is the level 1 to 85 experience now except some kind of punishment? So the Lightspeed bundles are instant money, right? It's printing cash. They put a Lightspeed bundle in the game and tons of people are going to click the button. All they have to do is space them out enough so that you don't feel bad about spending $10 once every 3 months, right? And nobody's going to complain. They're just going to throw money at them. So you don't need the hyperdrive bundle as a value proposition anymore. You can just bring people into the game at 85 and just let them play. So I'm not sure if ships need to be accelerated as much as they just need to get rid of that level 1 to 85 experience. It's not adding value to the game. It's just punishing people who let's say want to play cheap to play. And free to play is dead. I mean, the idea that you're going to play free to play is like selecting nightmare mode on Baldur's Gate 3. You just I don't know why you'd ever do it unless you just want the challenge of playing free to play, because everybody's going to buy the Lightspeed bundles. So yeah, I think their strategy around that initial part of the journey could change, and that'd be better.
Yeah, I was gonna to add in there that the 1 to 85 experience, I actually still appreciate it for the opportunity for learning the game, but I would have to agree with you wholly that it needs to be compressed. You need to be able to, I think, to get through that up to 85 so that you can unlock all the different game modes in a much more compressed time frame, maybe in 3 to 6 weeks, not, what did you say, 135 days? I mean, that's like over 4 months. I think that's a little crazy. Like, I got a question. So I do a little video series about every 2 weeks, just where I just answer questions that people share on Discord. And I opened the recent video with a question that's kind of related to this. They said that this fella bought his fiance a Lightspeed bundle account, basically. Just bought it, created a new account, bought all the bundles, and then gave it to his fiance so that they can swag it together and have fun. And he said, but he realized after doing it, she had no idea how to play the game. She didn't know, what teams, what factions, where to buy currencies, which currencies are of value, So he was asking, how do I teach her this? And my advice was kind of sarcastic, but I basically said, well, create another new account and walk through the first few days together with it so that you get a foundational idea. And that makes me think then, between his question and what you guys are saying, that I think what CG really needs to maybe do, in addition to compressing the initial experience, would be to provide proper documentation in the game, or a mode by which you could go through the tutorials again, even if you've skipped them or bought that hyperdrive account, right? Because I think that there is a lot of learning in there that just gets missed by accounts who do buy these things. And then it very easily sets you down the wrong road. Like if you buy that recent Rebel bundle and you're like, whoa, look, I got a relic, whatever, Lando Calrissian. And then, you start focusing on that Akbar, Lando, Biggs, Wedge squad. Well, yeah, that's going to be fun for a few days. But if you invest too much more gear in that, you're going to regret that very quickly. So...
Yeah, when I started the account, I thought I was going to start the account and play for a little bit, and when I started my Loquitur account a few years ago, the initial gameplay was, I don't know, a couple hours, maybe at the most. And the new gameplay, man, you really play for a long time. I think I had a total of like 5 hours of gameplay to get to the point where I finally ran out of energy. So if you just play through all of the like initial game stuff that they've got now, you end up level 40-ish, something like that, on your very first day played. What I'm saying is go through that tutorial, but that hyperdrive bundle button that's always on the side of your screen that you click, that's just free. So instead of giving you all the gear and zetas and all the stuff that it gives you now, it just, maybe gives you the characters at 5 stars, level 80. It takes you to 85, and that's all you get out of it, but it's free. So at any point when you're ready to go to 85, you just click the button and you skip the whole rest of that experience. And I don't know. I think that people who play that 1 to 85 experience, by the time you get to level 85, like the Lex Talionis project, that's my new account name, I feel like currently I'm never going to catch up. Like I could play this game for a year, finally get my profundity fleet, and I'll still be 2 years behind everybody else that buys the Lightspeed bundles. So, and a lot of companies don't want a free-to-play mode to be good. So yeah, people can play for free, but we always want it to be bad because we need people to spend to make money with our game. But in most games, the free-to-play players give you a bulk of people so that when you join Grand Arena, you've got 1,000 players instead of 150. And that makes a huge difference in how the game feels populated. So even though the free-to-play players might not be making you a lot of money, you want those people in there to add bulk to the game, so that people always have, Grand Arena to fight in, and, other people with legitimate teams. So,
well, larger player base is always going to be beneficial to the community, because at some point, even free-to-play, inevitably at some point, most of them will spend a few bucks here or there, and getting, $5 is better than nothing, right? So, and then of course you need the free-to-play player base. This is going to sound a little awkward or bad maybe, but you need that free-to-play player base for the paid players to beat up on, to feel good about their purchases in the game. I know that sounds bad, but it's kind of the reality, right?
Capitalism 101, boys and girls.
It is. The whale doesn't buy it just because they want to spend money. They buy it and everything in the game consistently so that they maintain their dominance. That's why they keep spending money. And if they didn't get that, you need that reward system, and you're not going to get that if all you have is pay to play.
Yeah, it has to feel like winning. You need the endorphins.
Yeah.
Right? When I think of a truly free-to-play player, I always keep in mind that, somewhere out there's a 14-year-old kid that finds the game that loves Star Wars, and, he doesn't have his own checking account, and mom and dad just aren't going to spend money on a mobile game. And so those people are truly stuck in free-to-play mode, and even if the Lightspeed bundle comes out and it's only $10, they don't have the method or the means to acquire it. Mm-hmm. So I think if you keep in mind that there are some people like that they're only going to play if they can be truly free-to-play. If you ruin the experience for them, then they're just going to go find a different game. So,
yeah, 100%. There are people that, just can't spend it, whether they're kids or they're in a place. Mm-hmm. I get people in my comments all the time that live in other countries, especially like South America, where their currency is just not matching up, and they can't afford to play the. I know it's everywhere, but I get people on streams from a lot of places that cannot afford anything in the game. So that's why I did a Lightspeed bundle giveaway this last time, and I'll keep doing that. We're gonna I'll spend $100, give away a bunch of Lightspeed, just to help some folks out. But I think this is a really worthy conversation that. Because I've been going through the same thing, Darth Loquitur. I started that free-to-play account back in, I think it was June when I started, because for me it was like, I want to see how fast I can get the job of free-to-play now that the guild store is here, and Rolo and and Rolo and Hermit Yoda and Womp are all so much more farmable now. And it's been a lot of fun, but I do think there are the challenges for free to play are much different than they were, 3 years ago when I started my number one account, my top account. And I agree it's got to be looked at, and I wonder if there's something big that's coming this year, not only for that initial game experience, but also is there a whole new level of character coming this year or next year, and that's why all this catch up is coming, so that they can just switch the game over to Galactic Legends or something down the road. So yeah.
Well, there's always going to be
not on that one.
There's always going to be escalation, right? So you can't have a game like this where the top of the bar doesn't keep moving, because again, it's the difference between the haves and the have-nots. And I've got a friend who's been playing free to play since the game came out, right? And he's got 105,000 crystals in his account because he doesn't need to spend them. What does he spend them on?
I could spend that.
Yeah, I mean, he farms mods every day, and he's got the characters, he's got the ships, he's got everything in the game. So at some point, how does he differentiate himself from another player who's been playing for, since the inception of the game in the same way? Well, when they move the bar, they put out Relic 10, then it's a race to see who can develop Relic 10s. So there's always going to be some kind of escalation, and I don't know if they'll put another kind of character on top of Galactic Legends. They've talked before about 7 dot mods. They've talked before about some different things in the game that they could do. They talked about vehicles. I don't know if we're ever going to get vehicles in the game as a game mode, but yeah. So I think the bar will keep moving up. I don't know exactly how. Yeah. I hope that their next big project is to revamp GAC, because they've gone through and they've kind of redone some of the game modes. And I think GAC could be the premier game mode. And if they did it right, they could make this a head-to-head system that we as streamers could advertise their game and play real-time head-to-head against each other. There's so much more that could be done with Grand Arena if they would just take the time to kind of redo the structure. And we were talking about it on the channel one day, just kind of brainstorming with the chat, and this idea developed that I really loved. It was kind of like, turn GAC into a conquest map where each defense that you place is a node, and your opponent can see those and kind of decide how they're going to go through and get to the back wall, and you can mix up your ships and characters within those nodes and kind of try to make it a puzzle for your opponent to solve. And at the same time, when you're on offense, you figure out the easiest way to carve through your opponent's defenses. So they could use some of the structure and mechanics they've already got in there and really give a different game experience.
Yeah, but have you hit Grand Arena yet at level 85? You have, right?
For the new project?
Yeah. I mean, does it really matter? Because all you're facing is 3, 4, 5 million accounts. You've got 1 million free to play, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, the matchmaking stuff has to be fixed. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
The matchmaking has to be fixed. But I think Grand Arena itself should be overhauled. So not just the mechanics of how you get matched up, but the little 4-zone thing. It's over.
Stale.
It's been that way for 6 years. It's stale. We could use a new. I still enjoy the idea of matching your entire roster up against somebody else's entire roster. I think that's a fantastic little game mode. I mean, that's what we all stream, right? But yeah, I mean, the matchmaking would have to be fixed. But also, I think we could do Grand Arena just differently.
Little divergent there, but have you guys seen the top-ranked GAC player?
No.
Okay.
Uh-oh. The Chinese firewall has kicked in. We've lost Gerbil momentarily. We will see. I don't know. Sometimes it takes him a minute, but we're getting a nice little shot of Gerbil's profile here. So, we could change it up a little bit if he makes it back through the Chinese firewall. DL, have you we talked about Zori's ship a little bit here before we got started. So, impressions, thoughts, and again, what's it called? I already forgot it. What was it called?
Comeuppance.
Comeuppance, yes. What are the? Wow, I'm losing you too. Is it me? Okay, there, you're back. So Gerbil's back. We lost you completely.
Am I back?
Yeah, we heard nothing about that you just said.
Back? Cool.
You said number one grand.
Yeah, the number one grand arena player.
Censored immediately.
Yeah, you were.
Yeah, I think that was on purpose. Yeah, so I did.
No, Gerbil's having a. Now he's feeling better, but the Chinese government has decided he can't speak about Galaxy Heroes. So the Comeuppance. What are your initial thoughts? Any deep thoughts about it? Or I mean, I know I have my thoughts, but what do you think?
I don't know what to think. There's a wall of text, and within that wall of text, there seems to be some things that are good and useful. But fundamentally, we have to decide, is this ship a starting 3 ship, or is this ship a reinforcement? And when I look at it, it looks like the reinforcement has one of the fundamental abilities on it, right? Like bring the ship in and get your stats up and running, and I can't remember the names of all the abilities without looking at it, but yeah, so it looks like the reinforcement is kind of the way to activate that ship's mechanics. But then there's also a way to activate the same mechanic if the ship is just on the field and you get a target lock or something like that. So I don't know if this is supposed to be one of the starting 3 ships or a reinforcement. It's at least to me, it's not clear from the kit. I can't.
Nothing is clear to me from any kit anymore. I can't read these things, and I glanced over that one just because I knew we were going to be talking about it. But, the way these kits come out anymore, the ifs, ands, thens, and fors and buts throughout the whole kit are exhaust me. And I did see there's a lot of foresight and expose in it, and foresight's what really gets the Radis going. So I mean, it's possible to help the Radis from there, but I mean, do we really even know? Do we know if it's going to be helpful by looking at the kit? I mean, I don't think there's any way to determine. I mean, as far as I can tell. Gerbil, we got you. What do you think? And you want to tell us about the number one? I'm
here?
Yeah, you want to tell us about the number one JAC player? Is there a glitch in the system?
I am not talking about that person. Clearly, there's a reason they're number one, and I'm staying hands away from that one. So, so I'm reading the Comeuppance here as well, and I agree. I think it's a bit of a struggle to tell, but I think it's probably going to live as a reinforcement for me, because of the enter the battlefield mechanic applies expose on all enemies when it enters, and there's a lot of if the enemy is exposed when X happens, trigger an ability. Right, so it seems like you want to ensure your enemies are have the exposed debuff. I don't want to say they're exposed, and so I think that it looks like the most consistent way, with my minimal knowledge of that fleet, is to get that reinforcement and just instantly apply it to everyone.
You don't want to say they're exposed? Is this a thing now, or what's the?
No, it's not good when they're exposed.
Yeah, I agree. I looked through it. I really struggle. I'm not just saying that. I really struggle to read kits anymore, just because I feel like to read and understand a kit, and I know, I'm a content creator. I should be making, here's what this one is about. I just struggle with it. It's every kit is a science textbook, basically, to me. And I don't think I've ever read a science textbook in my life.
I don't think it's actually that important to really read all the kits thoroughly. I think that the game at a macro level really is an enormous paper, rock, scissors, right? There are teams that just definitively counter other teams. And when you learn those counters, knowing all the ins and outs in the kits, especially on like a Galactic Legend, it doesn't really matter if you know that this triggers this ability and that ability and potency up and defense up and, strips off those. That doesn't really matter. A lot of times it comes down to Kenobi pushed the second button on Cat executes, right? It's really more about the turn order than necessarily understanding the kits in depth. Now, then again, if you really enjoy the theory crafting aspect of it and like the galactic challenges, then yeah, suddenly these kits become really, really meaningful.
Well, I'm gonna let you guys talk about it just for a minute more. I need to go wake up the boy, as is my normal schedule here in the morning. And when I come back, we can maybe get Darth Loquitur's rankings. But I'll let you guys talk about the kits or the new ship a little bit more before we do that.
So I got two thoughts about this, Darth Loquitur. What do you think? Okay, so are you a fan? Well, we'll get to your movie rankings in a little bit here. But when I saw that Zori was getting a ship, my first thought was, cool. All right, we can finish out, at least a 5-ship fleet now with Radis, and I thought this was good. And then I logged in and I saw it was a Y-wing, which I didn't know that before the announcement. I was like, oh, okay, it's the Y-wing. And I kind of felt let down because while Zori may be an amazing character, I really don't know. And maybe the ship is going to be great. I don't know. I just keep thinking, where's a playable A-wing? Where's a playable B-wing? The B-wing, for crying out loud, is one of the coolest ships ever in a sci-fi, I think. It is just so awesome, the way it's shaped, the way the ship rotates around the cockpit. It's been featured heavily in Rebels and other games. It's like you look at product merchandising too. You go to Walmart, they have B-wing toys for sale. Lego has expensive B-wing sets for sale. We don't have a B-wing. So I was like a third Y-wing, and I don't know how many times I've already accidentally clicked the wrong Y-wing, when filling out a negotiator versus or a rebel fleet. And now I'm going to have to watch even more carefully. So, I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
I have done the same thing. I put the Rebel Y-wing in for the Galactic Republic before, and I think B-wings and A-wings are a big hole in this game. I agree with that. It was so I'm on board with everything you just said. That I heard, the part that I heard.
Cool. No comment?
Yeah, no, I think it's a missed opportunity. Mandalorian's new ship as well. I mean, his new little ship is a pretty fantastic concept. It came off well in the series, and we don't see that in the game either. So I think that there's definitely ships are kind of like, oh god, we got to do ships too. Okay, whatever, throw them a ship, I guess. So I feel like ships are kind of the afterthought. Like, how long did it take for us to get the Bad Batch ship? Like 3 years.
Oh, yeah, long time.
So,
one other quick thought I have about the ship, and then it's not even so much the ship, just as it is the direction the game has been moving. And I started to make a graphic about this and then just lost interest. But so the Comeuppance first special, it says expose target enemy for 2 turns, which can't be evaded or resisted. It's that second part, can't be evaded or resisted, that I don't like seeing that, because every new character, with only a couple of exceptions for the last 2 years, have debuffs that cannot be evaded or resisted. And Datacrons can't be evaded or resisted, especially the level 6, right? Apply ability block, which can't be, yeah. So at some point, is there any reason to have tenacity mods? Or even potency, if something can't be evaded or resisted? And it's everywhere, right? The Inquisitors with Purge, Darth Malgus, Malicos, Seer, they all can't be evaded, can't be resisted.
The balancing a game is impossible. So when you talk about the direction of the game, you say, okay, what is the direction of the game? And broadly, you can say the direction of the game has been everything is good. We're going to make everything in the game good. So the resistance may not be as good as okay, let's get Ben Solo to make Rey better. Let's put Zori Bliss in to make the resistance leftover team better. Let's give Omicrons to First Order so that they can be more relevant in certain game modes. So if you think about building factions, everything that you build in this game now, everything has value. They even made Phoenix good with Rex. So when you're trying to balance a game, and then also you're trying to bring up the level so that there's not just dominant teams, that everybody's kind of on a playing field that's similar, you have to do that. You have to make some of the abilities iconic, and when Dash Rendar puts on a Daze, you just have to make that non-optional. Like, that's something that's going to happen in his team. And I can see where they do that for the purposes of game balance, because if that ability is iconic and you don't get it, then the team's just useless, right? So how do you balance that? So I think it's a cheat. I think it's a way for them to keep, bringing up the power level on a bunch of things, balancing it, trying to get so that when you do tier rankings, everything's in S, A, or B. There's no C, D, and F teams anymore. I feel like that's the direction they're trying to go. And they've succeeded in large part, because when I think about what to do next with my account, I'm like, oh my God, I need Inquisitors because we got to get Third Sister. I need the next Galactic Legend because that's what all the abilities are based around. Man, I need this Bo-Katan because she's going to be game changing, trying to decide what to do next is so hard because everything's good. And
by that same token, if everything's good, it almost simplifies it too, in that there's not necessarily a wrong answer, maybe, and that's possibly a good thing.
Yep, but it does make tenacity mods less valuable, and then you get to Leia's second event, and then you have to have tenacity, or
Let's not talk about Leia's tier 2. Real quick, I know that NOOCH there is dying to get to your movie rankings. I am too. Just real fast, what do you think about Bo-Katan Datacron? What's your take on that?
Well, I think that only the elite in the game have Bo-Katan at this point. I mean, people who either paid for her or already had everything anyway. So the amount of Bo-Katans that I'm going to see in Kyber 2 is probably limited. And I mean, what does the Datacron do? Like, gives her a free turn, strips protection off of somebody, and then she gets an insta kill. So
actually, it says every basic of hers is an insta kill if the target has no protection. So, say you put, I think Arnold was pointing out, someone puts Lord Vader down on defense.
Right.
Bo-Katan insta kills the entire team with one shot. I mean, she needs multiple turns, of course, but her basic kills everybody. Royal Guard, Maul, Thrawn, Nine Sister.
Doesn't she get an extra turn when she kills somebody?
Right. Yes.
Yeah,
so she would kill
no protection.
everybody on the team, and then and leave Lord Vader standing solo, and presumably
Yep.
So, they did that for one reason and one reason only, because only 900 people or whatever bought Bo-Katan, and they want more people to buy Bo-Katan, so you give her this ability to be OP for 4 months. Completely, and what'll happen at the top of Kyber is everybody's gonna stop setting Lord Vader on defense. Is what's gonna happen. Fine, but again, like DL says, it's like if you're in Kyber 2, you're probably not running into that very much, because only a few people have Bo-Katan, although maybe more people will, and that's why they launched the event so quickly, because well, nobody bought her. Let's put her out again real quick, and here's a little cherry on top for you. If you buy her right now, she'll be the best player in Grand Arena in the game for the next 4 months. That's my thought.
Yeah, and to be honest, it's an offensive team. It's going to kill one thing. When you're at the top in Kyber 1, you would think that when every team has every counter, getting a free win is a big deal. It's a game changer to have the free win in the bank. But I said, down here in Kyber 2, it's you often don't have 11 good offenses and 11 good defenses anyway. So who cares if Bo-Katan beats one of your teams on defense? It's not the difference between winning and losing. So for the people in the middle, it's kind of like, it's cool, but it's not going to change my game experience. For the people at the top, it's a have or have not situation. So I went and looked up the top players in GAC, like you said, because I was curious what you were going to point out. So you were just going to point out the fact that the top 11 players all have like 2 million galactic power.
Yeah, basically. Like they're all tiny accounts, and if you go in to look at their match history, several of them are playing the exact same opponents every week. Like literally every week. So it has to do with the matchmaking system that and I think CG even acknowledged at some point, they said it's going to take time for some bugs to work itself out naturally by the way that they're being matched. And I don't know how long that's going to take, but yeah, literally some of these top players are going against the exact same opponents every single week or every other week. Yeah, so it's really interesting.
It's just kind of win trading, and yeah. It seems odd that the top player in the world is like 2.8 million GP.
Yeah, and and they're in Kyber 1.
Yeah. Top of Kyber 1, yeah.
Yeah, there's absolutely no way no Galactic Legends. It's a completely broken system at the moment, and it's been this way for a couple months actually. Not a lot of people, I guess, have noticed, but
and I can see how it happens, right? Because imagine that there's just so if you look at skill rating, you get matched by skill rating. So imagine that somewhere in the entire skill rating chart, there was just a gap in skill ratings of about 60 points, where there weren't many players. Those players would always just constantly be matched up against each other, and as their GP went up, or skill rating went up or down, they would just fill that same hole.
And they would stay together.
Yeah.
Interesting.
You're making some interesting expressions over there.
I'm just looking at this. I mean, I saw a brief thing about it. I don't remember where I saw it, but that the rankings are messed up, but I didn't look. And that's pretty messed up. I mean, the number 5 player has like 4 relic characters on the roster.
You have to get down to like
best in the world right there.
Now, hold on. So that's just a glitch, right? It's just a glitch where these guys just got thrown into Kyber 1. They're not actually deserving of Kyber 1, right?
No,
unless
it's a bug.
Yeah, because Aesop Rock is still down there at number 8. He's always at the top. And then Mola Lisa is up there.
Right?
I mean,
like
Mola Lisa
million.
dominates this game. Everywhere I look, it's Mola Lisa.
Yeah, it's a bug, and it should.
Come on, guys.
It should resolve itself. And like the skill rankings, like I've been watching a while. This originally was brought to my attention by a Discord friend. Jedhai is the name, but he was pointing out to me that the skill rating at some point, like this one account, I think this is it, there it is, Rawthentics account, actually peaked at around almost 4,900 points, 4,893, which and has been just steadily decreasing. But it's going back to November basically. So this person, because of the bug, is able to just sit at Kyber 1, ranking in Kyber 1 crystal income at the expense of whoever should be there, right? Along with all these other people for months. And I'm just like, man, power to them. But that's a pretty big bug for the game mode that is the dominant source of crystal income. Yeah.
I gotta check on the boy again. Sorry.
Yeah. Hey, no problem. I was gonna say, back to the Datacron discussion. Like, I am not in there as they are currently in the game. I'm not a big fan of Datacrons because of the imbalance in randomness of abilities. Like I just won my last GAC match, but I was struggling against a Lord Vader and a Jabba on defense, and it just didn't occur to me to check the Datacron secondary stats and they had like 290% defense, and it's that super focus on those high skills, and the next one brings back evasion that I don't like about it. But with regard to like Bo-Katan one-shotting, I actually really do like the character, the cycling of character abilities. In this last set, the Admiral Akbar Datacron I found to just be a lot of fun. The current Jawa Scavenger Datacron is so much fun. I actually throw my Jawas up against Jabba the Hutt with the Boschkron, and it's a bit of a dice roll, but I can take out everybody but Jabba. So I can blow up Bosch and Embo and Chrysanthemum no problem. And then I go in and clean up Jabba with someone else. And that is fun. That brings actual enjoyment to the game to me. So I love that. I actually look forward to seeing lots of videos of Bo-Katan doing crazy shenanigans. But I do wish that those secondary skills, like give them 50% dodge. Okay, fine. I'm still going to hate dodge, but 100%, no. 400, 300% defense, no. So that's my take on it.
I really hated the new sets, and I know they're specific for certain characters and it's fun, but the stats were just awful. I like having those stats because for me it's like you've got a Jawa team, right, that you can use. You're in the 1% with that, and
yes.
So the 99% of us that don't have a Jawa team, I can't get to that, and that's just true with most of the characters at the top. And there's nothing wrong. I get that they want to make the top of it, the most accessible to the people that have the whole roster, right? So most of the new the Datacrons at the very top, half to 2/3 are either characters that are new characters or characters that people really don't have unless you got that completely maxed out roster, and that's fine. But when you do that, and then the stats are like special accuracy and physical accuracy and special, I don't even remember what the other ones were. Yeah, it's like it was just and I even said that I said it a few times. I'm like, I think dodge is coming next. Because they put all these accuracy mods out or Datacrons out. Well, there's a reason they're putting that out, and there it is. Because not dodge. It's what is it? It's
evasion.
Evasion. Not
yeah.
Is it evasion?
Deflection.
Deflection. That's what it is. Yes.
Which essentially the same thing in a nutshell. and while the new Datacron does have deflection, you saw that it has accuracy though, right? To counterbalance that.
I did see that as well. Yes.
But it does not.
Wait, I thought it did.
It's a misprint.
No. You know what? That's right. I did hear that. Yes.
Yeah. The accuracy is actually meant to have been potency. So while there is going to be potentially high opportunity for deflection, there is no way to counterbalance that.
Could there be a worse misprint in the history of the game?
There could be. But you know what I think is more fun than that? Finding out what Darth Loquitur likes. I think I'm ready to hear your top 11 movie countdown.
I'm always ready. This is my favorite part of the show.
Absolutely. And I'm really wondering how this is going to pan out. We've had such fun with this lately. I haven't been able to follow up with Bit Dynasty to make sure he's still alive after his unveiling. But that was a riot. And I just love everyone's take is different. So, Loquitur, are you ready for this?
I honestly didn't put that much thought into it, so I'm just going to talk about it in terms of what I like.
I think that's wise. Don't overthink it.
All right. Where do we want to start with this thing then?
Number 11. We always start at number 11 and we work our way up.
All right. I'm going to start with number 10.
Well, you've already blown up the whole system. You're like the Ryan Johnson of ranking Star Wars movies.
There's a reason I have to start with number 10, okay? So number 10 is The Rise of Skywalker, all right? And I still don't know what happened in that movie. I think that they had in mind this final fight scene where it was two people against the Emperor and a fleet in the sky. And then they just kind of backtracked that to try to figure out how they were going to get that to be their final fight scene. And they just made a series of bad decisions that left that movie like, what just happened? So with the idea that this is quite possibly the worst ending to the series that we could think of, I still have to put The Last Jedi at number 11 because that's the movie where they killed Luke. So even worse than The Rise of Skywalker is when they took my boy Luke and they turned him into whatever that was. An angry old hermit living on a planet where nobody can find him.
Gotcha.
No, that's not my Luke
Yeah.
Skywalker. That's not anybody's Luke Skywalker. So
it occurred to me just this week that I think what they were trying to do with Luke was kind of repeat Yoda's tale. That, Yoda went off to Dagobah and basically camped out as a hermit, right? I mean, we have Hermit Yoda in the game. And I think that the way that Episode 7 mirrored Episode 4, I think they were trying to have Luke mirror Yoda, who taught him a lot of what he knew about being a Jedi. And yeah, I think it was totally wrong. It didn't fit. So I feel that I agree with you.
Mirrored, they just rewrote the whole thing. I mean, Rey is a worse Luke. Finn is a worse reluctant hero Han Solo, and his sidekick Poe instead of Chewbacca. They even had the secret intelligence inside of an adorable robot. The fight scene between good and evil occurs in an open space on a catwalk. It's so much of a mirror that you feel like they just chewed up the original series and spit it back out, but just with everything worse. I don't know. I liked Rey as a character.
It was.
I thought there were some good moments when Holdo drives her ship through the enemy fleet. That's pretty cool. But Snoke, what was Snoke? To this day, I don't know what Snoke was. He was supposed to be the new Emperor Palpatine. We saw him for like a minute 20, and they put a lightsaber through him, and then that was it. It wasn't even hard to beat. If you don't build up a villain, if you don't make him incredibly powerful and hard to beat, and then you just defeat him in one scene, it's like, oh, okay, so there was this random guy who they put in charge. They didn't really want to be in charge, and he's gone now. There was just so much about that series of movies that I don't like. So those are my bottom.
All right, so how do you really feel?
Those are my bottom three.
That was easy. All right.
Yeah. So then 8. We kind of got the prequels in next. So we got the Phantom Menace at number 8, the Attack of the Clones at 7. And Revenge of the Sith at 6. I like that movie, but putting it up higher would make me take other movies off the top 5. So I think in this sense they're good movies. I like them. So there's a huge gap, right? We go 1 through 8, and then there's a big gap of like 70 numbers, and then the other 3 are like number 78 through 81.
So you have Phantom Menace below Attack of the Clones. Let's talk about that. What's going on there?
So Phantom Menace has little kid Vader, who to me was completely inconsistent with the Vader character. I expect him to be a serious young man. I mean, if you contain the most midichlorians of any being that's ever existed, you're not running around playing with robots yelling yippee, right? Like, I hated young Anakin. The pod races were super cool. Like, there was a lot of cool stuff in there, but the young Anakin, and then he flies the ship into the Trade Federation drone ship or whatever, and just accidentally kills the whole thing. I don't know. That's bad. That's bad.
You learned that from Jar Jar.
Yeah, but even at that age, Vader should have been very purposeful, right? He should have been very focused, and I just feel like having that much force ability, even if you haven't developed it, you wouldn't be like other kids. Yeah.
So kind of like a Tom Riddle of Harry Potter, right? I don't know if you guys know the reference, but yeah, Tom Riddle was very focused, very creepy, but nothing overtly evil about him as a kid until he just said, yeah, screw it.
No, I think it would have been unsettling. I think Kenobi walks into the shop and talks to the kid. The kid just stares him right in the eyes and like says something prophetic. And Kenobi's like,
yeah,
oh shit. Right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I I think I would have liked that more.
Yeah, I feel like that whole thing. So that's why it gets a low score, just because I didn't like the little kid Anakin.
Yeah, I always thought it should have been.
Yeah.
He should have been a teenager, and he should have been like running the town. You know, like
Exactly.
yeah, like
Exactly.
you know,
Like,
he's the guy. Like maybe not overtly, but when he walks down the street, people are clearing out. Like he's already there. He's already established himself. And maybe that's where they figure out. So yeah, I agree with that. And yeah, if
Well, like
I say that now, it upsets folks because it wouldn't have taken the Jedi Academy. It's like, well, that's kind of the whole point, you know. So yeah, that would have been more interesting to me to see him with a little more character development up front. Yeah.
yeah, like the idea that he'd already built C-3PO when he's like 8 years old, that fits, right? That tracks. So there was some stuff in there that was good. The fact that he could race a pod racer when nobody else should be able to have that kind of reaction. So there was stuff in there that fit. But yeah, I didn't like it.
All right.
All right, so then number 5, Solo. I know most people don't like the Solo movie that much, but there were characters in there that I loved. I thought Kira was a well-done double crosser, triple crosser, however many crosses she did was pretty fantastic. Dryden Voss was a nice villain. He wasn't too overpowered, but he also wasn't a pushover. The Enfys Nest character, I have an instant affinity for the Enfys Nest character. The actress that plays her is fantastic, and how she was pulled off in the movie I thought was great. So I like Solo. It's like a little story, right? It's like a D&D adventure, right? Meet at a tavern, go on an adventure, get your XP. So I like Solo kind of as a self-contained adventure.
I agree with that. I enjoy Solo. I think both of us like Solo too. It just kind of falls in a weird place in the universe, the Star Wars universe. Let me ask you mentioned Enfys Nest. So I remember the moment in the movie when I'm watching it, and then we get to the end, and she's taking the mask off, and as soon as she put her hands up to take the mask off, I was like, oh, this is gonna be a woman. Like I knew, I just felt. Is that something that anybody else felt at the time? Because I knew, like, as soon as they make that move, you know that they're going to reveal something you're not expecting, which I don't care. I don't know. Did anybody else have that thought? Maybe it's just me reaching.
Yeah.
No, I didn't have that.
Yeah, no, I felt like that character, exactly what you said. I wasn't sure exactly what the reveal was going to be, but I knew that character was going to be either someone we should know from, somewhere else in the lore, or something. So yeah, no, I don't know why. I can't explain it, but I really have an affinity for that character. And so when I started playing the game, I mean, my first 2 accounts, I just built Enfys Nest and took her straight to Relic 7 and never looked back. Because the character's fun in the game, and also I like the character. Same thing with Kylo Ren. In spite of my dislike for those movies, I do like Adam Driver and the Kylo Ren character. And Kylo Ren Unmasked is still one of my favorite non-journey characters. His kit's just very simple. He's a good tank, and he's good at what he does. I like kits like that. Jedi Knight Anakin too. I mean, that character same way. Very simple kit, very straightforward, and still relevant after how many years? All right, we ready to move on to number 4?
You're driving the ship, man. Let's go.
Thinking what's left. We got
Empire Strikes Back comes in at number 4.
Oh, shots fired. This is the part where I love it. Look, and he's not even smirking or anything. He's just dead serious about this. Let's go.
Yeah, so Star Wars fandom says that it's the best movie ever made, but there's reasons why I don't have it in the top 3. And I love the movie. It's a great movie. But there's others that I have above it for different reasons, for my own reasons.
All right. So what's your what detracts it from the top 3?
Nothing. There's just something about the other top 3 that I like just a little bit more.
Oh.
That's all.
Okay. All right.
There's no point where I say, oh, well, this is what was, people didn't get about The Empire Strikes Back. No, it's a fantastic movie. And the first 3 movies were done in a very, very classical sense, right? So you have Act 1, which is the rise of the protagonists. You have Act 2, which is where the protagonists find out that the real world is hard and they lose. And then Act 3 is the redemption arc. right? And that's very traditional in literature. And Lucas did it that way on purpose. And a lot of the first 3 movies was, religious in context. Religion and politics played a big role in how it was done. And so The Empire Strikes Back is the tragedy phase of the trilogy, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
well
very
done.
true.
I think well done. So at number 3, then I
Okay.
have Rogue One. And I think what they did with Rogue One was just so fantastic. I like imperilment. I like stakes, right? And some of my favorite books, I was a prolific reader from the time I was very young. And if a book series had characters that died, I was into it. Not because I like to see heroes die, but because it escalates the stakes. It makes you feel like the heroes are up against something legitimate. In the Dragonlance series, spoiler for nobody who's ever watched, saw, or heard about Dragonlance, don't listen to this next part. But they create this character that's a paladin, that's the last of his kind. And then in the second book, they just kill him. They just one-shot him in this scene. And the Dragon Rider just kills him. And you're flipping back and forth through the book. You're trying to figure out if it's a dream sequence. Like, when do they wake up? When does he come back? When is he brought back to life? And it's not. He's just dead. That's it. And that's the stakes. That's what it takes for them to get away in that particular scene. There's nothing for them to do but run. And this guy has to sacrifice himself. And that's it. And that's how it works. And that gets me into the story, because then every time they're in a fight in the future, I'm like, oh, who's going to die now? Right? Rogue One takes all that. They take everything about this. Oh my God, they're building this weapon of destruction that'll destroy planets. Life as we know it in this galaxy is over. We've got to stop this. And the ultimate stakes where the main characters just lose their lives in the end. It adds so much value to that opening scene in the first movie.
Yeah.
Where they've got the plans, and you're like, oh man, that's what it took to get those plans.
Yeah.
Right? So I love Rogue One. I think it's fantastic. I think the characters are believable. I like just about everything about it.
I like what you just said about it adds value, right? Like you mentioned, we talk about Solo, we like it, but it's just kind of standing on its own. And Rogue One, exactly that. It adds so much value to A New Hope, and it makes it. And they went back and kind of retconned the exhaust port without. Usually when that happens, it's a bad thing. Like, it's just, oh, this is stupid. But they really did it in a thoughtful and intelligent way that made a lot of sense to everybody. And it also just kind of explained a lot of things. So when you do that well, it's awesome. It's just it doesn't get done well very often.
Yeah, and it was fantastic, right? Like, this guy is going to engineer a weakness into the design, but he has to do it in a way that nobody can notice that it's a weakness. Yeah, it's fantastic. It's well done. All right, the number 2, I got Return of the Jedi. Now, I grew up in the middle of nowhere, South Dakota, and I wasn't exposed to a lot of this stuff growing up. So the first movie that I actually saw, my first exposure to Star Wars even existing, was Return of the Jedi. So that movie has to hold a special place in my heart because, that's where I met Luke. And then I went home afterwards and I started painting all my Lego blocks so that I could have a Vader and a Palpatine and the 2 royal guards with their everything red. They were lame in the movie, but they were visually just so striking, right? Like, so I had to have Lego blocks for all these guys. And I must say, even I remember very clearly being a huge fan of Darth Vader, even more so than Luke. So like when I painted my Legos and acted out their little battles, Vader always won. Luke was not the hero in my Lego world. It was Vader. He won everything. Palpatine was a bad guy. He died all the time.
There's a guy in my guild who, I don't know if he's memeing or sincere, but he makes a compelling argument that Vader is actually the real hero of the original trilogy, trying to bring order to the galaxy, and that the rebels are terrorists and whatnot. And it's like, okay.
I actually did a video segment on that. So I'm a math guy. I love math to the extent that it makes me weird, right? So let's say, let's look at the lore. What did they say Vader was going to do? They said he's going to bring balance to the Force. Okay?
Yeah.
Here's a simple equation. In the whole galaxy, there's like 8 Sith. There's like 15,000 Jedi, right? Order 66, Vader kills them all. At the end, there's like 8 Jedi and 8 Sith. He balanced the Force. He did exactly what he was supposed to do.
There's a good argument there. Yeah. Except now we know that we're actually a few hundred Jedi, it seems, that survived. Like every few days.
Every day we find out new Jedi that survived.
You say it's kind of like a genie thing. Like you wish for something to happen, but there's always some opposite, or there's maybe you don't like the journey to get there. Like I got my $5 million, but 5 people died in the meantime. But in this case, he balanced it, but did it in the dark side way, right?
Yeah.
Well, but imagine a yin yang symbol, right? So there's an equal amount of light and dark.
There you go.
So if we believe in some kind of cosmic balance being a balance between light and dark, then I mean, if there's so many good guys, the Force would be angry.
Yeah. Well, I think Vader has always intrigued me also more than Luke as well. I'm in that boat with you there, because to me, Vader's character has always been one of perpetual conflict and internally. When you ask a random person what they think about Darth Vader, and they're like, oh, he's cruel, he's vicious, whatever. But actually, he is, but with a methodical purpose behind it. And yet he also shows a great deal of trust and respect in people who stand up against him if he believes that they are, doing it in support of the cause. Like, there's a scene I love in the Kenobi series where he's standing on the bridge with the Grand Inquisitor, and Kenobi takes off, and all the other rebels, whatever, they're going in a different direction, and Vader's like, follow Kenobi, and the Grand Inquisitor is like, my lord, we can end this rebellion now if we go, maintain our pursuit, blah, blah, blah. And he confronts him, and Vader's like, no. And you can see, as you watch the Grand Inquisitor in the background, you can see his visual disappointment that he knows Vader made the wrong choice. And Vader would have to sense that, but he doesn't do anything about it. And we see that every once in a while, and more in the new series, that people are objecting to him, and he tolerates it because he respects their ability to do their job. And of course, when they are incompetent, then they get the crush. So I like that. I think it's good. Nooch, you don't agree?
I'm not sure I'm buying your take of the new Kenobi series, and I think. Oh
no! I'm saying that moment, that exchange, I think was wonderful.
Yeah. No. I'm not saying you love the whole new Kenobi series. I'm just saying I'm not. I'd have to really think about. I think there's a lot of there's a lot of depth to what you just said. I'm not sure I agree. Yeah. How about that?
All right, fair enough.
All right.
But Vader's a complex character.
That's
and
true.
If you look at like real human emotions and how the world plays out for a lot of people, when you're a kid, you're naive, so you have like a tendency to, I guess, almost naturally believe in things that are good and righteous and whatever. And as you get older, you get disillusioned to all that stuff, and people go through depression or phases where they're angry or somewhere in the grief cycle because of something that happened to them. And Vader is kind of, his story, he gets put in the depths of despair, and the only way that he can cope with it is to lash out, right? So he joins the team with Palpatine. And he says, if I can't have what I want, if I can't have the good things in life, then let's do it the other way. And he goes for it. And he goes all in on it. And he doesn't take half measures or be weak about it. If this is the way it's going to be, then I'm going to take out these Jedi, and we're going to, put this galaxy under control for its own good. And he bought into that. And then Luke reminds him that, hey, maybe that's not what you want. you know, the redemption arc there at the end where Vader comes back from that sort of, like, imagine that you're just living in that state for 10 years, 20 years, whatever. And then somebody reminds you of the way that it used to be or could be. And so I always loved that. I agree with you. I think for me, even at that age, Vader was the hero to me. Vader was the hero of that story. At least in a completely uneducated way, or, you know, not like thinking too hard about it. But that's the character that always won the battles when I played it out at home.
Awesome.
Vader won everything. He was the top of the food chain.
All right. So your number one
I like this
seems
one.
like it's going to have to be...
I like this.
A New Hope. That's the only one I haven't named.
That's great.
And the reason that's number one for me is because it's number one. It's the movie that started it all. Lucas had this vision that most other people didn't even believe in. The only reason they threw money at him was because he'd been successful in some of his other endeavors, and he was clever and edgy, and okay, you know, let's put some money behind this guy and see what happens. And just so many things about that movie were groundbreaking. And even down to the idea, I think I saw in an interview one time, he talked about picking the actors, and he said, I don't want to have established actors in my movie because I don't want people seeing the characters and thinking about what other characters they played. I want people later to look back at these actors and go, that was Luke, that was Han, that was Leia. So he even tried to pick people that, you know, intentionally, that were a little bit unknown so that they could be his characters. And when you think about that in context, it's a very clever move, because we don't think of Harrison Ford at that time. I think it only been in one other movie, so we don't think of him as somebody else. We think of him as Han Solo. So the vision and the foresight that he had with that movie, and the fact that people just went to the theater and they walked out with their mind blown, right? So everything after had to have built on that. So if Empire Strikes Back is the best movie, well, it's only the best movie because A New Hope was successful. It captured the imaginations of millions of people and allowed him to do the next project even bigger and better. So to me, that's got to be the top of the food chain, that first movie, the courage to do it, and to do it in the way that stood the test of the time now for, 50 years. So pretty impressive.
I have a lot of sympathy for that viewpoint, and it's Empire's my number one now, but A New Hope is right there behind it for the same reason that it started the whole thing. None of this exists, and you know we've got all these background stories now, and we think of people, the characters' personalities, and where they got this, and how they started that, and he just made it up on the fly. You know, most of it was like where'd Yoda come from? Well, I killed Kenobi, so I had to have another Jedi, so we made this look cute. You know, it's like. No, and now we have to come up with a novelization backstory for every character, and he was just flying by the seat of his pants and made, you know, just this most amazing culture. I love this take. I love A New Hope at the top. I love it. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, and the Millennium Falcon, the origin of the Millennium Falcon is fantastic too. And for anybody who's watching this doesn't know. Like they were trying to make spaceships, and the Millennium Falcon was one of the first spaceships they were trying to design, and it just kind of looked like a flying saucer, and Lucas wasn't happy with it, and he's like, no, that's not it. And so they tried some more stuff, and he's like, no, that's not it, and they didn't get it right. And he said, okay, what we're gonna do, we're gonna go to the junkyard, and we're gonna pick up an early 60s muscle car, and we're gonna take this piece of junk, and we're gonna throw a massive engine in this thing. It's going to be so unreliable. Like, you don't know whether this car is going to work or not work, but when it does work and you hit the ignition and you point it in a straight line and you step on the gas, it's just gone. Like, nobody ever sees anything of this car but taillights. Do that, but a spaceship. So the Millennium Falcon is literally supposed to be like a highly modified hot rod, and it's completely unreliable because it's so damn fast.
So first of all, I think we have to acknowledge that Gerbil is now a pixelated color mash on the screen. China is not being kind. There now he's. Oh wow! And now he's doing that. I thought you were gonna talk about the origin of the Millennium Falcon in Solo, but I've never heard that actually. That was really interesting what you just said.
Yeah, I don't know if that's exactly the story, but I know that he talked to his designers in terms of making it a race car, and so then they started doing stuff with making it like asymmetrical, where they put the like pod on the side and that stuff, and kind of tried to give it some personality. So yeah, and I just a lot of stuff about that was. If you think about the odds against pulling off a movie like that,
yeah,
to have it be, the start of something massive.
Okay, can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, I heard what you said about the pixelation. Sorry about the firewall. Loquitur, what you're saying also reminds me of another thing that I think really illustrates Lucas's genius of those times. So one of the areas that he really struggled in was getting third-party merchandising support to promote his franchise. Like, he went to all the big toy companies before Star Wars, and nobody would do it. I mean, they were like, this is a pie-in-the-sky dream product. We tried with Star Trek toys. They didn't really sell well. We're just not going to do this. And he eventually found a tiny toy company, Kenner, and he gave them an amazing contract. In the original contracts, he gave away 95% of the royalties to Kenner Toys. So Kenner went crazy with it. And after Star Wars, it was so successful, and Kenner had sold all the toys they could, but they ran into a problem with, okay, how do we get kids to buy more Star Wars toys? They already have Luke, they already have Vader, whatever. So they just started making their own iterations of all kinds of stuff. They just created whatever they felt like. And they thought that Lucas was going to go ballistic with them expanding his universe without consulting him. And so they, of course, had all these toys ready to go, and they presented it to Lucas. And Lucas, instead of getting angry with them, they said to Lucas that they wanted to make these, whatever. And Lucas said, yes, I love it. We'll pretend that these are just the things off camera. Right? They're there. The stormtroopers have these vehicles. These droids are in the universe. You just don't see them on camera. And that allowed the creation of fandom and, just the explosive expanded universe of Star Wars to take flight. And I think that was absolutely genius. And that allowed every little boy and girl that wanted to play and role play and fantasize to be able to put themselves into Star Wars, and bring us where we are today. So yeah, it was a genius move, and I think that his creativity in relation, like you were saying with the car, and his imagination just can't be understated. I think it's great.
All right, well there we go. I think we're all on board with that. So. Man, Darth Loquitur, thanks for sharing your rankings, and thanks for joining us today. This is a lot of fun.
No problem. Thanks for inviting me. Happy to be part of it.
Yeah, it was good to talk to you again after a long... What?
Where can people find you?
On YouTube. Just look up Darth Loquitur on YouTube, and I'm there. The channel specializes mostly in the early game, trying to help new players get established, trying to help mid-game players make good decisions about the right kind of things to build. I have, I think, one of the best mod series out there. It's very mathematical, statistical. I've got filters set up so you can do your mod work quickly each week with a pretty high expectation of success. So there's some good stuff over there for people learning how to play the game, how to make good mods, how to put together decent teams. And then we've got a fantastic Discord community. It's a pretty serious community, but it's nice. It's not toxic. We just got a lot of good people over there that are trying to help other people out. So if you're new to the game and you want somewhere that you can just go ask questions and expect, somebody nice to give you a serious response, it's a fantastic community to be part of. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah, and I'll just say, I'm definitely the dumb guy in the room right now. If you want, I'm a straight line guy. If you want somebody who's really going to dig into the details and talk about the very deep thoughts and complex ideas about the game, Darth Loquitur is your guy because, you know, I tend to avoid that stuff, and he really digs into that stuff, but covering the same, you know, game period. So I love you, DL. It's just good to talk to you. It's been a while.
You too, man. We got to get the dad power going.
There we go. I'm not sure I got this final screen ready, but we're going to try it right now, everybody. Hey, thanks for joining us. Hope you have a great day, and always remember... Oh, it is completely messed up. NOOCH, Gerbil, and Darth Loquitur, too good.